Your dreams are bigger, bolder, and more badass than the life you're living now, but something just keeps getting in the way. Join certified coach and former therapist Diane Wingert for the Driven Woman podcast. She'll show you how to get rid of whatever is holding you back so you can stop spinning your wheels and up-level your life. Get ready to hop in and buckle up. This is the Driven Woman podcast, and we're heading for the fast lane.
Well, hey, and welcome back, Driven Woman. So I'm guessing if this is not your first listen to the Driven Woman podcast, that I probably don't have to warn you that you are going to get a lot of tough love from these solo episodes. But that's really what they're designed to do. I have client success stories where I get to invite some of my favorite people on the planet in to brag with me about the success that they achieved during and after our coaching engagement together. Those are super fun, very popular episodes. I love doing my guest expert interviews because that's how I network, right? That's how I network is I get to interview other fabulous women who have something to offer my audience, and I get to expand my network of amazing female business owners. Love doing that. These solo episodes serve a different purpose. They are really a gift from me to you, wrapped up in wisdom, experience, really good advice, and a dash of tough love. Maybe more than a dash, maybe a full-on dose of tough love. Because I hear so many coaches and business consultants and advisors and strategists really sweetening the deal and making us feel a little unprepared for the task at hand. Building a business as a solopreneur is not for the faint of heart. It is not easy. It is not simple. That's not to say that it isn't doable and it can't even be fun, but it's not magic, and it doesn't typically happen really quickly and easily. You're going to work for it. And I think it's really important that we understand that. And I think it's also really important as women and as business owners that we understand how our culture has conditioned us to have certain beliefs, expectations, habits, and behaviors that actually interfere with our ability to achieve our goals and be successful. So I am here to be your truth-telling, tough-loving, badass business coach so that you know what you're up against. And most importantly, you won't think it's you. This is the thing that makes me absolutely crazy, is how many women that I have worked with who tell me they think it's them. They're doing it wrong. They're not good enough. They're self-sabotaging and all of that other nonsense. Let me tell you, I am here to say your obstacles are your cultural conditioning, your female hormones, your neurotransmitters, the way your brain works, and lack of awareness about these things. So I'm going to slide back the curtain, get up all into your brain and your biz shiz, and tell you these are the things that you're probably doing and don't even realize that you're doing that are killing your profits. Why do I want to tell you these things? So you can feel bad? So you can take your ball and go home? Hell no. I want you to know these things so you will understand that it is not your fault and there is a way out. That's why I'm here. Okay. So I'm willing to offend. I'm willing to annoy. I'm willing to trigger, because I think for those of you that are ready to hear the unvarnished truth and do something about it, you are going to be able to maximize your profits in your business without even having to hire me. You are welcome. So let's get started. One of the ways that we bring a people-pleasing habit that we might not even know we have into our business and how it kills our profits is we don't ask for the sale. Now, you might be listening and thinking, I have no trouble asking for the sale, but many women do. They will beat around the bush. They will say, so what do you think? How do you like it? How does that feel? And all kinds of euphemisms that are really not nearly direct enough for your potential prospect, customer, client to know you actually want them to buy from you, whether it's your coaching, your consulting, your product, your service. If you don't ask them, would you like to work with me? Would you like to buy this? Would you like to enroll? Can I sign you up? They may not know. So people pleasing as a way of, just kind of being modest and being not too pushy, we've been told, is more feminine. Most of us who have been told that we're pushy, that's not usually meant as a compliment. But you got to get over this idea that asking for the business, asking for the sale, asking for the money, asking for a decision is bossy, is pushy. Whenever I have a consultation with a potential coaching client, I refuse to coerce them. I do not pressure them, but I do ask them to make a decision. A decision must be made because if I have spent time explaining the way I work, making sure that I can actually help them, I feel confident that we can have a positive outcome together, and I ask them if they would like to become a client, I do expect them to make a decision. Because if they say they need to think about it, in all reality, they've probably already been thinking about it for quite a long time. Maybe not necessarily thinking about working with me, but thinking about making some changes in their business with the guidance, support, and accountability of a trusted advisor. So I need to think about it generally means you haven't gotten the sale. So I will ask a follow-up question. Now, this is a learned skill. Some of you may be cringing right now, like, no, that's not for me. But the reality is, if you do not find a way to ask for the business, ask for the sale, ask for the contract, ask for the signature on the dotted line, you are leaving money on the table. Most people need to be asked. In fact, there are people that just, if you don't ask them, would you like to work with me? They may even assume that you don't want to. Legit. So that is one of the ways. And it is associated with people pleasing because we have this idea that if the other person wants to hire us, they'll let us know. No, they won't. I promise you. In most cases, they won't. It's up to us to ask. Here's another way. Discounts. There's nothing wrong with the idea of a friends and family discount in many kinds of businesses. I do not personally advise this in coaching and consulting businesses, and under certain conditions in product and service-based businesses, I support it. But what ends up happening is because of our latent, inherent, and socially conditioned people-pleasing behaviors, most of us offer too many discounts to too many people, and that directly eats away at your business's profits. I mean, let's face it, friends and family, that should be a small circle of people. And a lot of people have difficulty asking friends and family to pay full price. I have a lot more I can say about that, and that probably needs to be a whole other episode, and I will do that down the road. But let it suffice to say for this discussion that if you are offering a friends and family discount to the majority of people you do business with, it has gone well beyond its stated purpose, and it has become your price. This is not a special offer or a special discount for special people if the majority of people you are working with have this discount or some other discount. If you are always discounting your rates, be honest with yourself. That is your rate. And if that rate doesn't allow you to be profitable, you've got some work to do. Here's another one. For those of you who are only just getting to know me and the Driven Woman, you may not know that I was a psychotherapist for many years before becoming a business mindset coach. And the last 7 years of that career, I was in private practice. Now, in community mental health, there is something called the sliding fee scale. If you have ever received psychotherapy or mental health services in a community clinic, you probably were introduced to this idea of the sliding fee scale. In a community mental health center, a sliding fee scale is a beautiful thing because it allows people who do not have the resources to pay the agency's full fee to pay a fee that they can afford, so that it's really an access to care issue. And it's also an anti-discrimination issue, so that people in the community, regardless of their resources, are able to receive the mental health services they need at a price they can afford. That's a beautiful thing. Now, how are agencies able to do that? Because they have government contracts and private donations that offset that reduced fee. Well, most of us who were in community mental health settings and then moved into private practice, we still had that habit of the sliding fee scale and the mindset that it was necessary. If you bring that practice into a private practice setting, you are killing your profits because you don't have government contracts and private donations to offset that. You have just taken a pay cut. And I imagine that there are things like this sliding fee scale in other types of agencies. In fact, there may be something comparable for accountants and attorneys and all kinds of other service providers. I am only experienced with psychotherapy. Here's another one: bartering. Now, in the coaching industry, when people are getting started and they don't yet have the confidence to ask people to pay them because they're beginners, they're just barely developing their skill set, a lot of them barter. So you create a logo and I give you some coaching. You create a website and I give you a coaching package. You help me lose weight and I help you reach your goal and teach you productivity or whatever it is. A lot of that makes services and goods accessible to people who are just getting started because they tend to barter with other people just getting started. But like all behaviors, this can be habit forming. And once we have become very habituated to bartering, it can be very difficult to make the transition to getting paid for our work. And we will find it something that we resist and we avoid and we procrastinate on. So there's nothing inherently wrong with bartering. I have bartered, but I don't do it anymore because I believe at some level of business, it holds you back. It keeps you tethered to the kinds of behaviors that are meant to serve a purpose at a specific stage, and they just become habit forming, and then they become your norm, and then you get attached to them, and then you can't quite let them go when you need to, and they kill your profits. Here's another one. The belief, I come across this so often with women who are helpers, healers, and those who love serving others with their gifts. The belief that if we love what we're doing, we shouldn't expect to be paid for it. Now, I am now at the point where I can say, what the actual fuck, right? It seems ridiculous to me. But not so long ago, I struggled with that too. Many, many service providers who consider themselves helpers and healers, those who are not predominantly money motivated, but motivated by passion and purpose, those who love the idea of making a difference and having an impact, especially on the lives of others, those folks may be experiencing this belief, acknowledged or unacknowledged, subtle or not so subtle, that if you love what you're doing, you should not expect to be paid for it. Here's a version of this. If it comes naturally, you shouldn't expect people to pay you for it. If it is literally a gift that you have that you really haven't earned, you haven't developed, like literally you were quote unquote born this way, you shouldn't take money for it. This is your gift. Gifts should be given freely. Well, I don't know the history of all of that, but it is a very effective way of keeping yourself small and keeping yourself poor. And if you are in business, killing your profits. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being compensated for your gifts, for your talents, for your experience, for your education, for your expertise, for your efforts. And if you love what you're doing, that will just make you even better at doing it. Why shouldn't you be paid? Why shouldn't we all be doing something that we love and being well paid for it? That now seems completely logical to me, but I had to do some mindset work to shift away from those previous beliefs because they were totally killing my profits. In my previous business, let me just tell you a real cringeworthy story. I was charging way too little when I set up my private practice in psychotherapy. I mean, to the point where I had clients telling me I was the best therapist they had ever had, and my rates were much too low, and they insisted on giving me a raise. And I thought, oh, they're so nice. Instead of thinking, wow, I really am undercharging because I really am that good. That never occurred to me. I just thought they were being nice. When I finally realized I was not being profitable and I needed to raise my rates to be more profitable, I sweat buckets over that. I had so much resistance, so much avoidance to doing that I just put it off for weeks and weeks, probably months. And then I only raised my rates $5. $5. I mean, I didn't notice any difference whatsoever in my bottom line, but I was convinced all of my clients would leave me. They would all say, you're greedy, you're grubbing, I have lost all respect for you. Hell no, we're done. Of course that didn't happen. In fact, they didn't miss those $5, and I didn't feel any benefit from asking for $5 more. I needed to ask for $25 more. And that took me quite a bit more mindset work to get to. Ready for another one? Okay. The beliefs that we have that wanting to be profitable, wanting to be successful, and wanting to be well paid in our business is a direct relationship to being selfish and being greedy. Nobody wants to be selfish or greedy, least of all the women I know. In fact, we will run in the opposite direction from anything that even hints at selfishness or greed to our own detriment. So we don't ask for prices that would make us profitable. We give too many discounts. We slide our fees. We barter when we should have long since given that up. And we don't raise our prices, even though the cost of doing business continues to increase. If we don't raise our rates when the cost of business is increasing, we are literally giving ourselves a pay cut by keeping our prices where they are. But this is one of the most difficult things for the majority of business owners that I know and work with. Hey there, it's Diane. Whether you are a brand new listener or have been with me from the beginning, I want to let you know how much I appreciate that you take the time out of your week to listen to the Driven Woman podcast. I love knowing that there are women all over the world whose lives are being changed for the better simply by listening to our solo episodes, guest expert interviews, and client success stories. Some of them tell me so in podcast reviews, in DMs on Instagram, and by email. And I love hearing from them. But you know, for many of us, we are not going to be able to reach our most important goals without guidance, support, and accountability. The kind you get from an expert coach who truly understands what it's like to build a business, even though you're afraid, even though you're uncertain, even though you don't have it all figured out. because that coach has done it themselves and helped other people as well. So whether one-to-one coaching is what's right for you because you want a highly customized approach, or you really prefer to learn and grow and be challenged as part of a group, I've got you. There are links in the show notes. You can let me know that you're interested, and we will take the next step together. I promise I will not invite you to work with me unless I think you're ready, unless I think I'm the right coach for you, and unless I am 100% confident that we can blow your mind and rock your world together, because that is the only kind of outcomes that I am interested in creating. So let me know if that sounds right for you. I just wanted to make sure that you knew there is more available to you than just listening to this podcast. But that being said, I'm so glad you're here. Want to know what one of my clients has to say about the experience of working with me? Have a listen to this.
It's funny because at first I said I would never own my own practice. And now I own my own practice. And I would say, I'm never going to take it any more than just treating patients. And now I'm thinking about how can I start my own
institute.
Yeah, exactly. Even like training other therapists, having a certification with my name that I am, I haven't thought of the name yet, but I'm certified in this technique or whatever the case may be. And really just helping other therapists help their patients the way I help mine.
You could say that a lot of this really falls under the category of money baggage or money mindset. It's also referred to as money blocks. The work of Denise Duffield Thomas is probably one of the coaches that is best known for doing this kind of work, but she has, of course, spawned many proteges, and there are many other wonderful coaches who do money mindset work. I find myself getting increasingly interested in money mindset work because I have seen it happen so many times that at first the business owner doesn't really have the systems and the structure and the routines and the habits in place so that she can be profitable. Okay, check, 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 check. We've got systems, we've got structure, we've got habits, we've got routines, we've got processes, done. But things aren't changing, right? So now maybe there's a knowledge gap. Maybe there's a skill gap that we need to close so that the business owner can take more leveraged action and be more skillful and be more confident. Close that gap. Things are still not changing. When that's the case, I never, ever say, well, this person must not want it badly enough. Or she's obviously sabotaging her success. Why would anyone work their ass off to have their own business and do that? No, the culprit in this case is the money baggage and the beliefs that we have that hold us back. Yes, it's related to people pleasing. That's what I've called this episode, the people pleasing tendencies that kill your profits. But it's also related to our difficulty with setting boundaries, our confusion between worth and value, and even going back to a very unconscious belief that many of us have that asking for money for services we provide is somehow related to prostitution. Now, that's a fascinating thing to consider, that women asking to be paid for providing a service is like being a prostitute. I understand the connection, and I understand that most women would not want to be associated with being a sex worker. But regardless of how conservative or liberal you are on that topic, I think there is something there unconsciously that women are just supposed to provide services to others out of the goodness of our heart because it gives us pleasure and pride to do so, and because we're rewarded with gratitude. But that's not business. That's a hobby. And that's just being a loving, generous, nurturing person who likes to do things for others. And let me be very clear. That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. It is one of the most magnificent traits that most females have, is that we freaking love doing things for other people. It's a wonderful thing. I just don't think we should be punished for that natural tendency and the fact that it gives us pleasure, and it is a source of pride and satisfaction to perform services for others. I do not think that should be held against us when we decide to make a business around providing goods and services so that we are not profitable. You have probably heard that the significant majority of businesses fail within the first few years. This is a fact. There are many reasons for this, but one way to be certain that your business will fail is to make sure that it's not profitable. You can't survive as a business if you're not profitable, because in order to stay in business when you're not profitable, you've got to get an infusion of cash from somewhere else or start doing things that are illegal, like not paying your taxes, right? It's just not a sustainable thing. And I think in many cases, our unconscious beliefs that associate profit with greed, with selfishness, with wanting more than our due, with not feeling comfortable being paid because we happen to be good at it naturally and we happen to enjoy it. All of that really needs to be unpacked and dealt with, because if we don't, it holds us back. Now, we may end up having a business, we may stay in business, but we won't have a profitable business. So we'll either be unable to pay our employees or our contractors, or we won't even hire help. We'll just continue to do way too much ourselves, which will absolutely prevent us from growing. It's going to show up one way or the other. I would be very curious to know if you have identified any of these tendencies in yourself: not asking for the sale, offering too many people discounts, giving them some sort of a sliding fee scale. And by the way, if you've never heard that term, a sliding fee scale, it basically means your goods or services are provided at whatever the client or customer can afford. And since they're normally not validated, you're basically putting the buying decision and the value decision completely in the other person's hands, saying, well, what do you think it's worth? Or what would you like to pay? Or how much value does this have for you? Give me that much. I have heard many, many women just starting their businesses say, well, I just asked people how much they thought it was worth. Okay, how's that working for you? Well, not surprisingly, in many cases, even their accountant finally had to break the news to them. You don't have a business. You have a hobby. So that may be hard to hear, but if you are not profitable, you have a hobby, not a business, at least not one that's going to stay in business very long. Now, I love supporting female business owners to have passion, purpose, and profit in their business, because I believe that's what it actually takes to make a difference in the world, to stay in business, to find it satisfying enough to do the hard work of wearing all those hats and facing the risks and the uncertainty of self-employment. I personally think it's worth it. I wouldn't want to live any other way. I love helping other women achieve the same thing. But if they are not asking for the money, not asking for enough money, not raising their rates, even though their expenses are skyrocketing, giving everyone a discount, or let's say they are charging the right fees, they are actually profitable, but they're feeling guilty and ashamed for it. I've seen that too, believe it or not. I have seen people keep, and here's another way, I didn't even think about this until just now because it's not on my notes, but it just occurred to me, keeping people on the payroll who are doing a shitty job. That is a form of people pleasing that's killing your profits. I've actually coached people through this who've revealed to me, as we unpack different things about their business that they wanted to transform, sooner or later, they will reveal that they have an employee or a contractor who works for them. In many cases, they've worked for them for a long time, years. The person's done a shit job from the beginning, low performance, bad attitude, poor work quality. In some cases, that person has created so much of a low morale situation that other better employees leave because they don't want to end up having to do their work and part of this other person's. But the owner is too much of a people pleaser to confront the poor performing employee or contractor and have the difficult conversations that might lead to a separation, but definitely need to lead to a change. That is another way people pleasing can kill your profits. Because I'll tell you what, if you got a bad egg in the basket and you have other good eggs working for you, they're not going to stay for long. They will become resentful that you are tolerating poor performance from someone else while getting good performance from them. Strong employees don't remain in a job when they see that fairness doesn't exist. They also lose respect for the business owner because they think you're not enough of a leader to deal with that problem employee. So I didn't quite mean to get into that, but people pleasing is a big problem and it will kill your profits. And I don't want to see that happen to you. I want you to thrive. I want you to feel successful and satisfied. I want you to be able to pay good rates to the people that work with and for you, and to have the business that makes you so grateful to be an entrepreneur and your own boss. I mean, really, what's the point of being your own boss if you bring all your shitty habits and mindsets from working for others into your own business and don't address them? Well, at least not on my watch. So if you are a listener to this podcast, you already know tough love is what you're going to get. But I want you to know it's not just tough, it's also love. I literally mean that. I love every one of you because you are doing the hard work of being a boss in a culture that doesn't always make that easy. There's a lot of people that throw a lot of shade on female business owners, and they say we're just pretending, or we must have rich husbands who are supporting us, and our business is just a little game that we play with ourselves. Well, if you ever have those thoughts about yourself, stop that. But the most effective way to dispel those thoughts is to be profitable. And here's the last thing I want to say on this. You know, you've heard me say this before, but being an entrepreneur is the ultimate personal growth path. You will have to confront your fears, your doubts, your risk aversion, so much more. But as you continue to do so and continue to evolve in a continuous upward spiral, the person you become will make you so proud. And if you are in a service-based business or a business that provides goods that improve the lives of others, as most of my clients do, you are doing very important work in the world. If your people-pleasing is killing the profits in your business, you won't be able to continue to do that work, that valuable, life-affirming, transformational work. Don't let anything dim your light. Don't let anything make you quit. Don't let anything force you to stop. Be profitable, live with passion, fulfill your purpose. I hope this has been helpful. I will see you next week with a wonderful guest. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Driven Woman podcast with Diane Wingert. Want more straight talk and strategy each week that will take you from spinning to winning? Don't forget to hit subscribe in your podcast player so you won't miss a single episode. Then head on over to the Driven Woman free and private Facebook group community. See you there.